Hi there, it's Ryan of Ryan Edit Photography welcoming you to a Photoshop tutorial. So this tutorial will be about a simple, so my goal is trying to dissect each and everything that I know in Photoshop that you could do to help enhance your photos or um, take it to the next level. All right. Or just understand what things do in Photoshop. So today we are talking about curves, like curves. Not that kind of curve, but all right. So in terms of images, what you can do with curves. So curves is very powerful. It's a tricky, I mean, not that tricky, but once you get the hang of it, it'll be easy. So I'll bring up this image here, our sample image that we're gonna play with. Wow, it's a gorgeous image of our beautiful couple, Shannon and Terry. We were at a gorgeous building. It's called the Kimmel Center here in Philadelphia. If you ever got a chance to visit, it's stunning. So they do all kinds of events there, and they have this section where you could see the glass. It's like a ceiling, arch ceiling of glasses with like those frames which you can see in the background. So all right, so where are the curves layers at? So if you go here, if you bring your mouse here on the where it says adjustment layer, that's where you can find it. Of course, there's a million things to do. One thing in Photoshop, million ways to do a thing in Photoshop. So this is just the quickest way. Um, you can find it here. I think you'll be able to find it here also. Um, adjustment layers. You can find it here. There's even a keyboard shortcut, Command M, if you want to be really proficient and be fast, like Control M, it brings up the curves layer. But the beauty, there's a difference. If you bring the curves layer, I think from here, it's not changeable. Like whatever adjustments you did, you gotta go back to history and go back to the beginning. Oops. That's not something you can go back with. But the beauty of using adjustment layers, it's actually gonna show up here in this panel where you can go back to it or tweak it, modify it in case you have to. So I clicked on it and it shows this like line. So what this does is this part represents the highlights of the image. This represents the shadows. So the curves layer, it helps you adjust the exposure in terms of like the brightness or darkness of the image, but it's not necessarily the only thing that you could use to adjust it. All right. And once you're in the curves, window, there's presets here that you could play with. I mean, it's already gonna have some tweaks on its own. So these lines represent sections in the image. So if you try to just like do as opposed to if you bring it here. So highlights, you're gonna blow out the image. This is like, you're gonna turn the image like real dark. All right, so bring back to the middle. Usually what people do is around here represents the midtones. The midtones is like a good point, adjusting the image. Depends on your taste. It just depends. I'm not saying like this is the only way you should adjust it, but it just depends on the artist's taste. So whatever you prefer. And it would, once you make an adjustment, it'll create a point. So this is the point that you could move it around. If you wanna, usually it's curves. I guess the more correct term is adjusting the contrast of the image. When people want to add contrast on the image, they do it's called an S curve. So you make one point here, and then you make another point here. So that creates an added contrast to the image. So if you go to layers, I'll disable this photo has already been edited in Lightroom. So adding the contrast, you could see the changes. But if it's too much for you, there's always the opacity here that you could play around. So if you want to reduce the opacity of it, it's like the strength of it, then you can, yeah, you make it real subtle, or you want to just like, rah, destroy the, I mean, not destroy, but you know what I'm trying to, sometimes it's better to show you an exaggerated adjustment just so you could see the difference, as opposed to keeping like subtle. It's really hard to, just for the purpose of demonstration. All right, so what you could also do, go back to here, because it'll show you a properties panel. That's where you can make the adjustments regarding the curves layer. So here's the layers. Go back to the layers panel, and if you go to properties, make sure it's highlighted. Selected means that light gray thing. So you could also make a targeted adjustment, right? So if you click this hand, the inverted hand like this, yeah, it'll let you. Oh, you know what? Let's start a new one. So I'll just drag this to the delete, and then let's make a new one. So if I click this and so it's gonna turn into a color picker, like a sampler. You can go to any part of the image if you need to adjust it. See how here it's gonna show you which part of the image it is, right? See, it's moving. So I could left click, hold, and see what happened. It turned into the hand, and there's an up and down. So if you drag it up, it'll boost the highlights a little bit, bring up the highlights. And if you drag it down, it'll make it darker. So it's another technique if you want to just darken a certain section of the image. And then you can go back to layers. What you can do is, since this is a layer mask, there's going to be another video explaining layer masks. So that means, so I learned it from an educator. I can't remember who. I want to quote all my sources, but unfortunately I can't remember. That in terms of layer mask, white black conceals, white reveals. So what you can do is you brush on that layer to do those certain effects. So so here's my color palette. It's on black right now. So if I hit brush or shortcut B, brush tool, just increase my opacity so you can see it. So if I wanna conceal it, like that effect, if I brush here, see, it got brighter. So I'll undo it and brush it again. You can see the change. So that means, and then you can see the mask, there's a black dot. That's where I brushed that. All right. So if you want to make it a vignette effect, I mean, what you can do, you can make your brush larger, like using the bracket keys, and then make sure um, you're soft on your flow. That's like the strength of the brush. So it's and then you just, I guess, brush in the middle. You could like turn it into like a vignette kind of effect. And you could see how it is. It's like, you can see the edges are soft. The lesser flow, like the more softer it goes on the edges. See so I'll turn it on and off. Watch the edges. See, it's changing. It's getting darker a little bit. So a vignette effect would just help you bring your eye like directly more to the subject. So it's a photography technique. All right. Well, I don't want to keep this too long. That's like, I guess, a basic summary how you could use curves. There's more here that you could, this is like color sampling, picking. So, oh, my light lost power. You can see my video, my lighting ran out of power. It's okay because I was streaming earlier. But all right, well, I hope you learned something from this quick tutorial about curves in Photoshop. I'll see you guys on the next video. Like, comment, subscribe, and follow me on social media at Ryan Edda Photo, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, TikTok. I'm also on TikTok at Ryan Edda Photo. All right, thank you so much, guys. Talk to you guys soon. Stay safe and healthy. Peace out. Ciao.